One night, I was watching a compilation of Sony Pictures Home Entertainment logos, and earlier than that, I watched Matthew Mayfield's 2 logo ranking videos, one of them being on MGM Home Entertainment. Pretty gratifying content, check them out if you haven't already. So with both of those being said, I've been inspired to do my own ranking of the Sony Pictures Home Entertainment logo history, from weakest to greatest. Just a couple of rules though. Only main variants are qualified for their spots on this countdown, but if necessary, I could acknowledge a noteworthy subvariant. Secondly, still logos will be disqualified from the list because, well, apart from maybe looking good, they're not doing jack crap. There's more depth to reviewing logos that are actually animated, right? Okay, enough introduction, let's go! Yeah, sometimes a logo without sound could be as annoying as one that does have sound. Okay, let me rephrase that. While this logo does have a decently bold design, with CGI graphics that are basic but don't look too dated, would it kill them to add some sort of audible accompaniment, even if it means for them to compose some cheap fanfare on a Moog synthesizer with the same amount of depth as the 1971 PBS music? Just something!
Jesse Ventura, I've seen some outlandish outfits before.
So the simple animation and lack of sound are the most obvious reasons for this being at the bottom spot. I mean, something has to fill in that, right? And this ident is the most worthy of doing so. There isn't much else I can say. Let's move on. This is the first in a pair of rare, short-lived Columbia TriStar Home video logos that persuade you to, via a super catchy singing trio, take Hollywood home. Visually though, this inaugural variant is the least thrilling. With the simple graphics consisting of the boxes featuring the Columbia Torch Lady and the TriStar Pegasus splitting apart, this is basically either a prototype or a companion to the Columbia TriStar television logo that came out around the same time. Hell, there's even a sub-variant that uses the exact same moving clouds background. It amazed me when I found this out several years back. But the logo in and of itself is nothing really impressive, and I can see why they updated it not too long after. Yeah, I know. This is nothing more than the 1976 Columbia Pictures movie logo, with the mere differences being the plain white capitalized text reading Columbia Pictures Home Entertainment Presents, replacing the golden Columbia Pictures text, and the finished logo doesn't zoom out as much. But, you know, it retains all of the riveting elements that makes its theatrical counterpart a feast for the senses, including the fanfare and formation of the so-called sunbursts, which still kind of holds up almost 45 years later. It's no wonder Youngblood Fancy 91 is such a huge fan of it. Oh yeah, Youngblood was a guest here lately. Check that podcast out. Just had to do that plug. Back on topic, the fact that this is essentially a recycling of the 1976 movie logo is what's keeping it from a higher ranking. But before we move on, I should note that if you own a late 70s VHS tape of a black and white movie, like say Gilda, you'll naturally find this logo in black and white. Yeah, I'll admit, I just said that as an excuse to mention Gilda. I mean, can you blame me? Rita Hayworth was such a doll. Anyway, recycling days over from here on out. So what is it that makes the second Take Hollywood Home logo superior to the first? Well, there's the 3D wallpaper background that the Torch Lady and Pegasus boxes emerge from. That's quite an advancement, right? And of course, we're once again struck by the insanely catchy chorus singing. Well, you know what? I'm gonna spare you from my own off-key singing for the rest of this video. Thank me later. Plus, I like how they extend the music a little whenever the logo transitions over to a trailer. Here's one example.
Coming soon to a theater near you.
Overall, this just feels more memorable than its predecessor. However, it's still a bore compared to the following 6 entries, including this guy. Yes, this rarely used variant is really something. The scrolling CGI film strips containing the Columbia and TriStar footage was what makes this logo great, combined with the sunny sky blue background and the new age hip hop beat that plays. But about that music, it's unfortunately only heard overseas, whereas in North America, yep, dead friggin' silence again.
I just don't get it!
It's shameful enough that this logo isn't easy to spot, since the 1993 one was still the default at the time, but why on earth was this catchy music reserved for international releases only? There couldn't be any licensing issues concerning it, right? It's Sony's own original composition. And for that matter, why is it the same deal with the very first Columbia TriStar Home video logo in 1991? In North America, it's silent, but elsewhere, it's either the RCA Columbia Pictures International Video theme, or this. Oh well, this 1997 variant is really good, with or without music. But especially with music, obviously. Now we move on to the longest running Sony Pictures Home Entertainment logo, which happens to be the only one to bear that precise name. Compared to its television counterpart, which has the nerve to erase all traces of its ancestors, this Sony Pictures parallelogram logo seems to be much better received, and I can see why. Clearly a higher budget is presented here for all the special effects going on. We zoom in through a sea of hazy purple clouds, then the lens flare shine white, forming the infamous Sony Pictures bars. The musical theme that accompanies the animation is a pleasant orchestration on its own. But my biggest nitpick is that it could be startlingly loud whenever I'm starting up a DVD in the living room. Like, as soon as I put in my open season DVD, I have to quickly turn down the volume when the logo pops up. Regardless, this Sony Pictures Home Entertainment logo has been active for a consecutive 15 years now, barely showing its age, and it's a really good successor to 14 years of Columbia TriStar Home video logos. And again, it's even better than this pest. Seriously, give Telecommunications Company a break, ya joik! Now let's move on. Wow, this is some awe-worthy stuff for a 20-plus-year-old logo. The clouds sweeping themselves away, the letters flying in to spell Columbia TriStar, the Torch Lady and Pegasus emerging from the sunlight, and lastly, the word DVD, or sometimes home video or home entertainment, crafted into place with an impactful phaser sound effect. It's the most flawless entry on the list thus far, and the CGI ages like a bottle of wine. Too bad it wasn't used to its advantage though. This variant was mostly used on DVD releases at that time, with appearances on VHS tapes, including the almighty Stuart Little, being few and far between. I guess Sony could be given the benefit of the doubt, as they want to make an epic first impression as they enter the then new disc format. Or rather, provide us with something done with much more effort than this static placeholder from 1997. Either way, despite its limited usage, this logo rocks. And yet, I still feel more attachment to our next entry. Okay, it's time to talk about... Yes, this is simultaneously the most famous and infamous Columbia TriStar Home video logo of them all. On its own, it's really moving and enjoyable, thanks to the CGI clouds crumbling, the 3D text zooming out, those torch lady / Pegasus boxes splitting apart, and the riveting fanfare that pumps me up every time. Every time! Sir, it could be a bit startling at first, considering the VHS tape would cut to it after 15-ish seconds of blank screen, but it's still admirable. However, its infamy comes from how annoyingly prevalent it was for 8 years, and that doesn't even mention the fact it's intact on reprints of DVDs after the division was renamed Sony Pictures Home Entertainment. And even when logos with arguably more advanced graphics were introduced during those 8 years, albeit used to a much more scarce degree, the 1993 variant was undeterred, much like Daffy Duck the Wizard. So why is it so high on the list? Well, apart from what I already praised about it, this logo is simply nostalgic. Yeah, I know that sounds corny and cliched, but hear me out. My earliest memory of seeing it was on my copy of Muppets from Space, one of the first DVDs I ever owned. By the way, I still think that movie's good. Kinda overhated even. And of course, there were other videos in my library containing the logo as well. So yeah, love it or hate it, the nostalgia factor is a common reason why this Columbia TriStar Home video variant still gets some amount of respect, generally speaking. But compared to the top entry, it doesn't hold a candle a torch to its magnificence. But we have to make a number 2 first. Oh boy. Once again, the foreigners have all the fun with their home video logos, only this time, instead of just the music being exclusive to overseas, it's an entire damn variant. I said this in my live stream with Youngblood Fantasy 91, and I'll say it again, this is one of the most underrated logos ever in my opinion. Sir, its otherwise lively CGI does look a little dated, but the remarkable, exciting music is enough for this to fall under the category of logos that should be talked about more than it does. Occasionally, it's heard with at least 2 different other themes. But the primary one is tops, especially when the ending is extended a little occasionally. "2018 was the year when I really noticed the charm this logo has, and it was an honor to have it be the first 3D animated segment in my classic logo remake party series, back when I was starting to experiment with CGI. However, I've yet to find the reason behind this being limited to international releases. It couldn't have been that expensive to simply change the words international video to home video. Come on, Columbia. This logo is the frickin' holy grail compared to this.
Great design, but no match for my superior intellect.
Anyway, I love this logo, and I'll remain one of its biggest advocates until I eventually grow tired of it. Keyword being eventually. For now, I could play that theme all day. Before we get to the number 1 spot, here's an honorable mention. For me, as a longtime Sesame Street nerd, the nostalgia factor of this beautiful, peaceful logo is off the charts, given its strong presence on videos of that series, along with others. Not to mention, I remember it being the one thing I would look forward to seeing whenever Mega Babies aired on Teletoon. I mean, hey, can you blame me? It's not like that cartoon in and of itself is all that worth caring about. Now, since this list is focused on the core home video division of Sony, the Sony Wonder logo is technically disqualified from being a proper entry, but it's irresistibly worth mentioning anyway. Alright, time for number 1. I think you guessed it correctly already. It was kind of inevitable that this masterpiece would take the top spot, considering how we already discussed all of its predecessors. Well, the ones that were animated anyway. So, 10 years of Columbia TriStar Home video logos led up to this, a triumphant ident that does an excellent job emphasizing the beauty of Columbia and TriStar's respective mascots. Starting off with the Torch Lady's bottom half, then transitioning over to the Pegasus wings, then zooming out on each of the mascots, and finally finishing off with both of them in position together. And everything's done with a cool pixelated Matrix-like effect, with a powerful fanfare accompanying the logo's activity harmoniously. Although that fanfare was mostly heard on VHS's while on DVDs, it's still awesome and fitting, but Machine Head's theme just sounds more impactful. And truth be told, my nostalgia for this logo dates back a little farther than that for the 1993 one. I remember first seeing it on a Muppet Show VHS 14 years ago, specifically the one containing the episodes guest starring the Star Wars cast, Paul Simon and Raquel Welch. Then for the DVD variant, to this day, I would spot it on my prized copies of Stuart Little and Stuart Little 2, among the greatest films ever crafted by humanity.
Hey, Smokey! His name is Snowbell.
But in all seriousness, special thanks to the designers at Montgomery Cobb for crafting this perfect grand finale to not only this countdown, but also this 14-year-long era of Sony's home entertainment division. I should also note that, in the year it debuted, this logo even earned them a Gold Telly Award. That's about as well deserved as the intro to Dilbert winning the Primetime Emmy for Outstanding Main Title Design. What more can I say? This logo is simply marvelous. And there you have it, my ranking of the Sony Pictures Home Entertainment logo family. I hope you enjoyed hearing me review each of them. This has been a gratifying video to make. Please feel free to tell me in the comments how you'd personally rank these logos. Also, remember to like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to this channel so that the subscribed versus not subscribed analytics would be more balanced, and let me know if you like to see more videos where I share my logo opinions. Thanks for watching everyone, and take care.